All right, Chris, today we're actually going to put together a shaker wall cabinet. This is probably one of our best-selling cabinets. So can you get us a little bit of an idea of what we're going to do today?
Sure thing, David. Okay. So right now we're just going to primarily pull everything out of the box, check for all of our parts, and then get to the assembly steps.
Great. Make sure everything's looking good.
Exactly.
Nothing is scratched or broken or anything.
Definitely.
You know, maybe somebody dropped it along the way, but we want to make sure everything is
defects as well.
Okay. Make sure everything is clean and good. All right. Perfect. How about the tools? What are we going to use for tools?
Basic tools that we have here is going to be, basic cordless drill. This would be our 18 gauge brad nailer, specifically for box construction.
Okay.
This would be our 18 gauge crown stapler that we use for mounting the face frame.
So it's kind of your standard crown stapler. Okay.
Yep.
So that's for putting the frame on. And then some general tools that we're going to potentially use in case we need them.
Definitely.
A little bit of a mallet. We've got tape measure, different things like that. So pretty basic tools. Do you have to have the crown stapler? No, but it makes it easier.
Definitely. Okay. Just having the basic tool would be most efficient for this.
Okay.
Assembly.
So this is kind of our number one set of tools that we're going to use to put this cabinet together.
100%.
All right, let's jump in. Let's see how to build this cabinet. So everything came out of the box. We gave it a quick inspection. Made sure everything was looking good. There's no scratches or broken pieces. So we want to do that first and foremost. You don't want to get 3/4 of the way through the box construction and notice you have something broken, because it's always good to, if you need to warranty that cabinet, you can swap out the full cabinet.
Definitely. I would recommend warrantying right away if you open that cabinet. Inspecting should be your primary function before assembly.
Yeah, and it's always good if you take a picture of it within the box and kind of show that it's just recently come out of the box. But the great thing is our products are amazing, so very, very rare that happens, but you just want to make sure that you're being careful.
Most definitely.
Okay. So we got end panel and a back kind of going together.
Yep. Okay. So this would be our side panel here that, as you can see, comes pre-datoed for your top and bottom shelves, and then pre-datoed for your back panel, which fits right into that slot perfectly. Okay. All of the basic hardware does come in these small boxes and bags. Definitely you would like to check those sizes of screws. You wouldn't want to put a back panel screw through one of the frames or one of the doors potentially.
So we're sorting by length of screw and type of screw. So do that first. We're putting the hinges aside and then figuring out which screws. So very much like putting furniture together, you want to make sure that your hardware is separated first. Give you a little bit of organization. That's the one thing about cabinet making is that you want to try to stay organized while you're doing this. You're not kind of working yourself into a hole.
Definitely. And you also, like we said before, is making sure that you have all of the proper parts to assemble these cabinets is key.
Okay.
You wouldn't want to get to this step and then realize you're missing all your screws for your back panels.
Gotcha.
So once we have our back panel in place, we'll set our bottom panel, which would typically be our top or bottom, as these are universal. You always want to make sure as well to place your color side out and your natural finish on the inside with your grooves or tongue, I guess, facing outward.
Kind of a notch, if you will.
Exactly.
Yeah, so put your notch forward because that's going to fit into the face frame.
Exactly. Okay. Key about this would definitely be making sure that everything is flush before putting your screws in.
So make sure you're nice and flat. That's the best thing that you can do is get yourself a good base, whether it's on a table, some sawhorses with some good kind of meaty, table underneath it, if you will.
Definitely. So, okay. Yeah, I would agree. I mean, as long as you can get some sort of even surface to build on, it'll definitely help with the squaring of your cabinets. Yeah. So as we have our bottom panel set in, facing forward, as you can see, there's these pre-drilled holes that fit specifically for this bottom panel.
So we're using the longer screws to start here.
These screws would be for your top and bottom panels. These screws would be for your hinge installation.
To the frame.
Exactly, to the frame. We wouldn't want to confuse the two of these because you put the longer screw into the frame, you could potentially break it.
Gotcha.
Make sure we're flush. Insert. I would definitely recommend an impact with no torque adjustments, just specifically for cabinet construction. If you have something like that, I would definitely tone it down.
Yeah. I always say no more than 2 clicks.
2 clicks, I would agree there.
And that's it. Don't drive it too hard because it'll strip it.
I would agree.
That's actually one of the harder things to teach people to do is don't overdrive the screws when you're building cabinets.
Oh,
I don't know why that is. Everybody goes heavy with the trigger.
Right. So, yeah. You just want to hope it bonds, I think.
Yeah.
Really.
like it's going to be better, but it's
Right.
actually worse.
And then we'll set our second panel in. Always want to make sure you're all the way back to your back panel as well before you drive it.
And we're not building this the normal way, just from an illustration standpoint, because you would typically have this turned the other way, so you're not reaching around the cabinet.
Most
So
definitely.
We're just trying to show you a little better.
Definitely, yeah. We would definitely do this facing us as well. Once we have our top and bottom panels on, we would take our second dadoed side panel.
And there's up or down or left or right? Or?
Up or down, definitely not much of a factor, but forward and backward, as you can see, if
So the
you
curve
don't
to the
install
back.
this dado to the back, definitely you're going to have some issues just with typical
Not gonna
box construction.
Okay,
There we are.
there we go.
So here's where we would use our 18 gauge nailer. We typically use a 1 1/4 inch brad nail for our box construction. Seems to be the best bond with, minimal ejection. Gun position, I would recommend positioning horizontally to the back of the cabinet
Okay.
and not perpendicular. Whereas the groove of the nails actually will bend out typically easier this way than it would be this way. When we go to shoot these, you would shoot the back panel, I would say probably about 1/4 inch in, and then we would recommend one on the corner here, and then one on the opposite side of this shelving, just for support reasons. And then typically we would shoot this every 6 inches.
Same thing on the other side, on either side of the top and bottom.
And then we'll get that, and we'll turn it around. This would be our basic box construction.
So box is built, we got the screws in, we've nailed the end panels on, and now we can start working on the frame. So pretty easy process there.
Definitely, I would say it's pretty simple, straightforward. This would be our face frame here. This is also pre-dadoed on all sides to match the etching for these top and bottoms. Definitely, I would recommend paying attention to that because that's how you're gonna know which side is gonna be your top and bottom.
So those notches clear the frame, like right here.
Yep.
So it'll allow the frame to come back. Okay.
On this, we typically run a small bead of glue.
Definitely careful here because you don't want glue oozing all over the cabinet. So
Definitely, once you put those staples in, is gonna kind of tighten it up and bond it a little bit tighter, and then allow for that glue to dry. Put a little too much in there, once you shoot those staples, it'll definitely be everywhere.
Right. And we're just using like a typical tight bond.
Yeah, just any
glue.
typical wood glue would work. We're not using anything fancy. Once we get the glue set, we will align it onto our box. Typically, you want to make sure that this face frame is flush and the side panel is inset as deep as it can go.
So you pushed all the way into the dado, two pieces coming together, and then flush with the top and the bottom. Okay,
Definitely,
right,
yep.
good point. And we see that when we're out on installs, that those have been assembled a little cattywampus, if you will,
Right.
for people that have done it in the field. And we notice that that hurts the installation and the final look of the cabinet. So make sure
Definitely.
that that's nice and flush.
Definitely, I would
Okay.
agree there because once you go to mount that to your next cabinet, you're going to notice the issues right away. Once we get our frame laid down, we make sure that these tops and bottoms are flush with the frame and inset. We'll go into the cabinet with our 18 gauge galvanized crown stapler. So this is the crown staple. As you can see, once you go to shoot that, it should inset something similar to that.
So the goal, not to shoot through the face or come out the side of the cabinet, using the correct size nail or staple is the key.
For typical frame installation, when we go to shoot this, we shoot at a 45-degree angle to the corner.
So just for a safety thing, because it makes me a little bit nervous as we're showing other people how to do this, is that when you're shooting the nail, don't shoot right over the top of your hand. You know that you've been doing this for a long time, but make sure that you keep your hand right where the staple's not.
Definitely, I would
so
agree.
if it does come out of the face frame for some reason, it's not into your hand. So
Definitely, and I've ran into that a couple times myself.
I've shot myself a few times, so I'm
You never know when that wood's soft. So we'll go through. typically is the same measurement for the back panels as we use for the space frame. You would go about 6 inches.
Okay. And you're holding the gun at about a 45, so it's like a toenail. Basically.
Exactly, yeah, you're kind of toe-nailing it in. Typically we would start on the side panels first, just to solidify the frame. So as you can see, side panels have these holes,
okay,
which is for the shelving. Flush this, and then we'll go down.
So, Chris, how long does it typically take you to build one of these cabinets in the shop?
Typically in the shop, it'll take about 10 minutes-ish per wall cabinet. Of course, skill sets are going to be varying, so
okay.
just
So knock the first one out, and then you start to get a little faster.
definitely.
Okay.
I mean, I had no experience doing this. My first wall cabinet probably took me about 25 minutes-ish. It all just depends on your skill set and your knowledge of cabinetry.
And it's good, take it slow your first go around, kind of be careful, make sure that you're kind of paying attention to all the little details, because once you staple the face frame in, you can't reflush it.
Definitely.
Right? So you got to make sure that you're kind of moving correctly.
I would agree there, and it's definitely harder to fix it than it would be to just double check it and build it right the first time.
Yeah. Kind of the measure twice, cut once scenario.
Most definitely. All right, and once we have our top and bottom stapled, this would be our basic box construction.
So now we have a cabinet assembled, and we just got to play around with the doors a little bit, get those installed.
We sure do.
Almost ready for install, right?
Almost, we're getting there.
Okay.
So, after our box construction, as you can see, we have our doors here. Everything here is pre-drilled, ready to go. All your holes are marked out for you, so there's no questioning.
So we've got the 35 millimeter cup bore for the hinge, and then we've got the pre-drills for the smaller screws. And again, make sure that you're not using too long of the screws, so always check that screw length. There's nothing like screwing through the front of the door.
Most definitely, you wouldn't want to have to be finishing your job and replacing doors in the same day.
Yeah. So those are likely, what, half 5/8 inch?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
They're 5/8 inch.
5/8 inch. Ooh, so looks about a number 6 or number 8 with a number 2 Phillips on it, and specific for those hinges. And again, you don't want to over tighten these, because this is what's going to hold the door on. So if you're stripping them out, then you're going to run into problems. So again, 2-3 clicks max. Just snug them down.
Once we get our hinges mounted to our doors, that's when we can install them to our finished box. As you can see here, all of these are pre-drilled holes, which mount up with the holes in the hinges.
Quick and simple.
Yep, very quick, very simple. Shouldn't be about the last step of your process here.
So since they're pre-drilled, you can pretty much just go into the center of the hinge, correct?
Most definitely, yeah. There's already a hole that's specific for this hinge hole that's in the frame.
Okay.
So once you go to mount this, it'll be pretty straightforward on where that screw is going to go and to line up with that hole.
And then final adjustments in the field. So they're 6-way adjustable hinges, so you've got the opportunity to tweak everything that you need to in the field.
Most definitely. Also, too, I would recommend, if you're planning on building before installation, definitely you can keep your doors to the side.
Right.
Build your boxes, install them, then go back and put your doors on.
Yeah, because there's no really good reason to put the doors on before you install, because
Most
you're going to have to take them right back off. And, and the least amount of handling on the cabinet, the better.
So typically, as you can see here, this is an issue that we commonly run into, and a lot of people run into the field, is this offset doors.
So they're just misaligned doors. We haven't done a final adjustment yet, so we can take care of that real quick.
Definitely, real quick. As you can see in here, these screws right here actually come with your adjustments pre-marked by these tiny little arrows. This screw right here will adjust your depth in and out. This screw here will adjust your in and out, and then this screw here will adjust your doors left and right. So for this specific one, we're actually going to adjust our door.
There we go.
And there we have it.
So good center reveal, flush doors at the top, and then naturally you're going to have a final adjustment after installation. If you install the cabinet, it can rack the cabinet a little bit.
Definitely. And then that's always the thing, like you had said, the center reveal, just, I mean, after installation, just try to make sure that they all line up.
Okay.
Say the last step would be your rubber bumpers.
Okay.
Don't forget those, as you don't want you to break your doors every time you open and close them. All right, now this would be the completed Highland shaker wall cabinet.
So it took us, what, about 10 minutes? Not too bad?
Somewhere around there, yep. And
Okay.
in the field, I mean, it could vary, but
Yeah,
definitely
not
shouldn't
too
take
bad.
too long.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. So good job.
Thank you.